everybody. It is Janet Metzger on the Network Marketers Den podcast. I'm really excited to bring to you a very special guest today. His name is Garth Warner. I've known Garth for many years. And, I was just sharing with Garth before we got started, his bio is so good, I don't want to paraphrase it. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about Garth Warner, and then I've got my own little spin on it for you, Garth. So Garth Warner is the Senior VP of Sales Operations at Rodan & Fields and oversees the company's commercial calendar, global programs, and consultant recognition, as well as the consultant learning and development. But prior to joining Rodan & Fields, he founded DCG, Paradigm Consulting Services, and he also spent more than 20 years in direct selling at Avon, which is where I know Garth from, in various leadership positions, including most recently, Vice President, Global Sales Service Model Transition. He also worked at Citibank as Vice President, Global Cash Management Services. In addition, he's on the board of directors of the San Gabriel Valley, California American Red Cross, the corporate board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club of Delaware, and others. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree and an MBA in business from Wilmington University, where he has served as an adjunct in the business department. He's also completed the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Global Strategic Leadership program. Garth, you're so impressive, and I'm just going to add a few things here. You are a phenomenal dad, a phenomenal husband. I know Daphne and your kids. I can't believe how much they've grown up, but there is something I want to add about Garth that everybody needs to know that he didn't say about himself. I've known him for over 20 years. He is truly passionate about our business, about the direct selling industry. More importantly, he is passionate about people. I am really proud to call him a friend, and more importantly, he is a mentor. He says he's an average guy, but his accomplishments definitely are not average. So welcome, Garth Warner. It's so good to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, likewise, Janet. It's like we're picking up where we left off. You still look the same, and I enjoy these types of interactions.
It's great. It is such a great thing, and that's what I always say is one of the best parts about this industry is the people and the relationships that we have met. You've got such an impressive resume, and it isn't just about the direct selling industry, but now you're back. So why are you back, and what do you love about this industry?
I look at the home I sit in and live in. I look at the automobiles I drive. I look at the amount that I've acquired in my savings, and I give much thanks to this industry because it's an industry that took an average guy like me that supported average people and helped make them become phenomenal human beings. I truly believe the synergy in people, passion, and process. And when I say process and direct selling, that's our selling systems in each and every one of the companies that exist within the industry that really make one a successful commodity, but more importantly, help them live out their goals and their dreams for them and their families.
Absolutely. And you specialize in systems, and you've been with different companies, but they all seem to have a few things in common. What would you say the systems that work well have in common, and that our listeners, what they should do with those systems?
Yeah, it's interesting because the systems, I think, are easy to follow. Most companies have systems that are easy to follow, Janet, and it really starts with the whole concept of what can I personally do that others can replicate and duplicate consistently. And I think that whenever you have that ingrained in your model in direct selling, it is one that will clearly create the areas of inertia and growth and opportunity. But I also think there's something else that's so profound when I think about this industry. It takes average people, ordinary people with extraordinary capability. And what I think also is so important, there are three questions I always like to start out to really find out about a person and whether they will be a good fit. One is, and I think this is a lot of people. First of all, do you like people? Right? Is the first question.
Right.
The second one I think is equally as important, though, and this is the one that goes below the surface. And that is, do you believe that everyone deserves their best life? And if the answer is yes, then how will we help them achieve their potential? And the last question I believe is so important is, do you believe that you deserve your best life? And is it worth you giving your all to make it happen? And if the answer is yes, then let's go. Let's make it happen.
Right. And if it's not, maybe the business isn't for you, or you're not for the business.
At this time, because I truly believe we all change. And that's what's great about being a human being, right? We all go through different periods of not feeling good about ourselves, but something sparks and changes. Right. And that's what I truly believe is unique about this industry, and so profound in helping others along their journey, because it could be that spark that creates the interest, that ignites the flame, that starts the person moving in the right direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting. You started out with saying, do you like people? Because it is a people business. It is absolutely a people business. You know, Garth, I think back to our time working alongside each other. And as I said, you've been a mentor to me for many, many years. But one of the things that has always inspired me about your style is you talk about the fundamentals. Can you talk a little bit more to our audience about what you consider the fundamentals of the business are?
Yeah, you know, I'm just ingrained in process, right? And I really believe that I'm a very disciplined individual when it relates to just doing things systematic. I'm boring sometimes because I do the same thing. I replicate. I do the same thing. I eat the same way. I set up my plate the same way. My glasses the same way when I sit out and eat. But I think there's something magical, though, about that. If we could just get in these patterns of being consistently consistent, then we can block out a lot of the noise that comes in our way and the turbulence that comes in our lives. And that's really what I think is so important for me when I think about this business, this model, and really what it's about, you know, is unleashing that consistent behavior. That's the fundamentals of what it's really about. You know, every one of our direct selling companies has a great product, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I agree 100%.
What separates is the system and the discipline of working that system each and every day.
Right. And those fundamentals are really what it takes. I'm chuckling inside, Garth, because I heard you talk about being boring and being consistent. And we have a mutual friend, Mr. Bill Singleton, that always used to say, be boringly consistent.
Boringly consistent. That's Bill. You're exactly right.
And I truly believe that. And I think people try to do too much when if they would just focus on these basic fundamental things, they're going to get way ahead of it. You know, something that you would always talk about that to me is a strong fundamental, and I hadn't heard it in a long time until you and I talked a couple weeks ago, and that's the 3-foot rule. You want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting in life. You know, we come in contact with people each and every day. And I know that due to COVID, it's been now the 6-foot rule, right? We've been expanding that proximity. But when I really think about life, what's really amazing, and it goes back to that delight and that love for people and that the love for Jay, hey, just, you know what? There may be something about them that's so special I need to get to know, that I always like to encourage everyone to talk with anyone within that 3-foot rule or 3-foot distance of themselves. And it's amazing, and when you think about it and you start to do it, the number of people that you start to write down their name, telephone number, and their email address from just those contacts that you have each and every day. I've acquired a lot of great friends that, believe it or not, have lasted for life because of that approach. And it's really remarkable that how it, I know, works in many of our direct selling companies' selling systems. It
absolutely does. It absolutely does. But I'm gonna ask you, because I know what our listeners ask me all of the time. So what do I say to these people? I mean, I've never met them before, and they're close by. What do I say to them? How do I get that conversation started?
Well, it's so amazing. And I say, first of all, be natural, right? Yeah. Be your natural self. But most importantly, be open and be a good listener. So the first thing just starts with, hello, hi, my name is Garth Warner. What is your name? Great.
I think everybody can do that. I agree.
So I think that's the beginning process. But I think listening and trying to identify something that you have in common to begin to open up the conversation. I think that once that is established, then it starts to open up more dialogue. It's really funny that in life, Janet, too often we have surface dialogue with people. How's your day? It's okay. What color are you wearing? I'm wearing blue. We never get below the surface because there's everyone out there wants to be loved, wants to be cared for, and has a desire. And I truly believe that once you can tap into that inner ability, you have the magic of really what it's all about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the part about being open and honest and just being yourself, because people connect with people. I mean, they'll see through it right away if you are phony. And, obviously you have something in common with them because you're in the same area, you're within 3 feet of one another. So I love that. Thank you for that, because that was a really, really good reminder. And that just goes back to, it's all about the fundamentals. I mean, that's just very, very basic. The other thing that I wanted to remind myself, I felt like I went down memory lane when we talked last week, is you talked a lot about vision and how important vision is with direct sellers, with direct selling companies. You want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's so amazing that when you think of this industry, the stickiness or the connectivity when one joins, whether that is as a customer or whether it is ultimately they join and become as a customer or become a consultant or a representative with a direct selling company. What I think is so very intrinsic in those pieces of the equation here is that when that company needs to make sure that in all places that it is painting a vision that it will be around for a while, that there is something that is there for me to be a part of that is special, unique, and fun. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, that it's easy to do. And I think that one of the pieces that's so important, I think, especially as a leader, no one wants to follow you if you're only talking about next month. But they will jump on the bandwagon if you're thinking next year and what you're going to be when you grow up and what you want to become to be extra special, to be a great energy source to others. And I think those pieces are so fundamental in really what it's about in a business. And one of my favorite verses of the Bible is Proverbs 29:18. And when you think about vision and why vision is so important, and then for those that have vision, they will, those that don't have vision, they'll perish. And when you think about that, applying it to business, but what it also says is, but those that keepeth the law, happy are they. And truly, again, it's about us bringing out and fulfilling our desires, but more importantly, helping to guide others to their potential and their ultimate desires. Because if we help enough people get what they want, we get what we want, but we have to help them understand that what is possible. And that's what vision is all about.
Right. Absolutely. Zig Ziglar, one of our favorites. He says it so well. And you are so spot on with that, because let's face it, not every day is rainbows and sunshine when you own your own business. So you have to keep that goal and you have to keep that vision. And as a leader, one of the things that you have to be able to do is help create the vision for others and maybe the belief in themselves that they don't have at this very point in time. But if you have that belief in them and share that belief, you're always going to be ahead. Garth, this just came to me. I'm going to ask you this question, and you didn't know I was going to ask you this, but I think it's really important for our direct sellers to hear this, because you are the person at the corporate level that designs a lot of different things. And this came to me because this morning I had a call with one of my private clients, and she was saying, I don't understand why the company does this. If they only did this, if they only did that. Can you just share with our listeners and reassure our listeners about the role of corporate and how they have the distributors back?
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I think rhythm and synergy is really the key to success within the direct selling channel. You have to have the right rhythms, and you have to have the right synergies, but more importantly, you have to have the right inputs in development. And I think that what's really interesting is that I know as I work throughout my career, those relationships, and I go back to that, are so very important. And being inquisitive in nature as you work in a corporate staff, of just having the ability to pick up the phone before we design, before we map, before we finalize what it is, we should have the ability more so to pick up the phone, because our consultants or our representatives, as we look at direct selling, are the ones who are making it happen each and every day. They are the true entrepreneurs and the true champions of the business. And it's so very important to get those vital inputs in the design phase so that it comes up as a win-win for all parties. And more importantly, I just think that there's so much power when everyone is on the same page. That's the flywheel when it works its best. And I think that's one of the most important things, I think, in many of our direct selling companies. But when I think about the role of corporate, it's to be a support to help our consultants and our representatives maximize their goals and their dreams. It should not be a hindrance. It should be a support to helping them maximize their goals and their dreams. And everything we do should be in support of what is easiest and best for them to do, to replicate and duplicate those efforts.
Right. And that's what you do. I know you have incredible relationships with people from over the years, but you do reach out to them. And when you take that knowledge, that, the feet on the street knowledge, if you will, and you combine it with your vision, because not everybody knows the 1, 2, 3, 5 year plan. So I always say there is a reason why corporate is doing the things that they're doing, and know that it is always in your best interest. So it's not that you just wake up one day and go, you know what, let's just change this whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's that active listening piece that helps you incorporate the how-to into the vision.
Right, right.
And I think that's the piece you're hitting, Janet, because that's really what it is, of making sure that it creates synergy in movement forward, not movement backwards of the consultant base. And I think that those rhythms are so very, very key and vital.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would just encourage listeners, if you have a question about it, don't talk amongst yourselves. Reach out to someone at the corporate level, because they will explain it. And it does not matter what your company is. Know that they always have your best interests at heart. So in closing, Garth, let me ask you this. If you could give advice to anybody on the podcast that's listening of 1 or 2, maybe even 3 things that they could do in their direct selling business to maximize their earnings and their goals, what would it be?
To let go of their fears.
Okay.
Would be the first thing. And I would just say, Janet, one of the things that holds us back as people are a lot of questions versus a lot of locking in actions. And I would say that too often we are blocked by our fear of what success looks like or what's not going to happen. We have all we need sometimes to be successful. All it requires is action, that positive movement, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, but more importantly, following the process of those steps consistently. And over time, we'll start to see inertia kick in and really us seeing that small check becoming a larger check and us continue to develop towards our goals and our dreams.
Absolutely. The process and taking action. And, it's, I always say, well, in my previous career, it's only lipstick, you're not going to mess anything up by just taking action. So just great words of advice. And I just think it's so important that our listeners hear from that corporate level and know, you can tell Garth is speaking from the heart of how he really embraces the distributor, and you're always top of mind. So just a couple of fun questions for you, Garth, before we close out. What's your favorite book? Is there a certain book you're reading right now that you would recommend?
Yeah, I'm going to just go back to my ultimate favorite of all times, right? And that ultimate favorite book of all times, Janet, is one not by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
My goodness.
When I think back over my life, that book has been the most instrumental in helping me and guiding me along this path and this journey thus far. But I would tell you, I'm always looking to expand my thinking and expand the way I look at things, and not, in my former company, DCG Paradigm Consultants, because it's often those paradigms that get us stuck. And there's a great new read out by a very dear friend of ours, John Fleming. He just released a book called The Ultimate Gig. And it's really about, when you think about this gig economy that exists out here today, there are some things we need to learn from it as direct sellers, that we need to start to think about how we can incorporate those into our thinking and our design of the future state. And again, you spoke about vision. This helps expand that vision, because when you think about what's happening in the gig world right now, it's not about a hierarchical structure. Right. If you think about it, it's about me individually going out, making it happen, and I can refer a friend and so forth, but I'm going to continue to grow and earn as that goes forward. So this book has awakened me in a different way to really be more inquisitive and looking and guiding in how I think. It's a great read, and I would encourage anyone to pick that one up and just spend some time reading it as
absolutely. After we talked the other day, I placed my order. And for those of you that don't know John Fleming, he's now retired as he was the president and owner of Direct Selling News. Phenomenal. The gentleman is, wow, he's so inspiring. I think of him and I'm getting goosebumps. But
he's a great mentor and friend. He's
absolutely, truly is. And I should know this because we've talked about it, but it's been a long time. What's your favorite movie?
This may surprise everyone, but it may not, right? My favorite movie is Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
And everyone would probably say, why does he like Shawshank Redemption? Well, I think part of it are the twists and the surprises and the outcome. Right? And it really is about life. It's that journey of their twists, their surprises, but ultimately, if we stay focused, we will have the desired outcome. And I just think of, Eddie Dufresne arriving at shore in his boat.
In Zihuatanejo, yeah.
To get there.
There's a vision.
Easy, right? It wasn't easy, but his focus on the ultimate prize was so important. And he continued to consistently work his plan each and every day to lead to his freedom and his new life. So that is my favorite book of all time.
I love it. That is that is absolutely in my top 10. It's a phenomenal movie. And it's one of those that you watch and rewatch. We watch it at least once a year. So, but Garth, I once again, I can't thank you enough. And I know our listeners really appreciate it. For our listeners, there are show notes where you'll be able to reach out to Garth Warner if you want to know more about his company. And when you hear what kind of leadership they have at the top at Rodan and Fields, it's a great company. All of them are great companies. But if you really resonate, reach out to Garth if you have any questions. But Garth, it is truly my pleasure and my honor to reconnect with you. And I wish you all the best. And thank you again for sharing your knowledge and your passion with all of our listeners. So,
Janet, thank you. And thanks for reconnecting, my great friend. And
absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And I want to thank all of our listeners for being on the Network Marketers Den. And here's to your continued success in the best industry in the world. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.